while women are only receiving less than 3% of venture capital funding, the successful ones are not waiting for the fund to come to them or continue to hunt, but building an ecosystem that supports their true solution and their own journey in getting the right messages and solutions in front of the right investors. They are creating their own stages and changing the rules. Stay tuned as we share how these founders are able to create the new strategy to help them secure funding despite the system that's stacked against them.
Welcome to Provider's Edge, the podcast that helps healthcare entrepreneurs and innovators break down barriers and control their business, life, and future with valuable action steps. With me, your host, Sabrina Runbeck, a recovered clinician and a business deal catalyst. Let's rewrite the rules and create a positive social impact while increasing your profitability.
If you're waiting for the funding table to welcome you, then you might be waiting for a very long time instead of building a stage for yourself. We all know has been a very, very long time. Women founders receive less than 3% of venture capital funding, has been hovering around 2.1% for a very long time. So how are we able to push forward and actually get the solutions we know truly can change the healthcare system and how we are able to receive help ourselves as well as for our patients, our families, and for our community? Is that we have to change how we approach the way that we build relationship and secure these funding. One of the wake-up call that I had recently is by helping a founder who developed a saliva testing at home for women's health solutions, specifically on menopause and perimenopausal. There are significant amount of funding deploying in these fields, definitely in the past recent years. Instead of when she started 3 years ago, we know the market at the time didn't even recognize the importance of that. All women go through menopause. For 3 years, she's been building this solution and pitching all over the world, started in Singapore, expand into Mexico to be able to do her pilot study and go into the US market, and now having contract in a pharmacy in Japan to be able to deploy. So it's exciting for someone who has the vision and need be able to push her solution across the globe. At the same time, she told me, Sabrina, I've been meeting with these angel investors. I can hear the exhaustion in her tone. And she said half the time, it seems like we're not speaking the same language. And they needing more and more prep work for going through a due diligence process. And seems like both sides are just confused. Her story isn't unique. We see these patterns repeatedly from multiple founders across the board, especially for women facing healthcare funding gap. Here's the cold truth. When you narrow it down to women-led solutions, these numbers become microscopic. Because tech in itself, yes, it might be billions of dollars in play, but how many of those tiny little pie is actually belong to you? And for those people who actually sees the true potential that you have. And therefore, if you are a founder in this space, it's not just the statistics, you live it. So the system isn't broken. It was built this way. What many founders don't realize is that waiting for funding table to welcome you is like waiting for an invitation that was never sent. The system wasn't designed with you in mind. And recently, ARPA-H announced a $110 million sprint for healthcare innovation, showing there's public appetite for change. But here's what's most founder miss. Money isn't just sitting there waiting for a good idea. It flows to those who position themselves strategically with existing power structures. I see this play out daily with healthcare innovators that we work with. They're brilliant at creating solutions, but struggle to position themselves to attract capital. And whether they are some of the earlier stage versus they're really ready to scale up to that series A, B, and C, they're told to network more or perfect your pitch more, when the real issue is much deeper. Let me share another story that illustrates this perfectly. Just last week, I caught up with another founder who developed a end-of-life solution. Initially, we connected because she has been speaking at conferences, doing all the talks, but it feels like that she's not prepared. And she really needed to narrow down her message. And a few months later, when she kind of went off ramp herself and contact her to see how everything has played out, because she wanted to close the round of funding last month, given the past quarter is really hitting that 2 million goal. She told me, oh yeah, I have no problem pitching now, but the two people that are interested, we just can't come to the same conclusion on the negotiation table. Now, when I hear that, half the time, the people who think they are pitching really well actually don't have a good structure. When I hear people say, I'm really good at pitching, I don't need help, then despite they have raised capital before, run many companies, when you're on a different stage of your company or a different venture, is a different approach with your messaging. And everything in life is a pitch at the end of the day. If you haven't closed, despite the interest, that means you don't actually know how to pitch that next round of negotiation. And therefore, we have to think about all different buyer personas, natural languages, despite the initial interest, to actually convert a sounds good to an actionable contract. So the hard truth here is being good at pitching is not necessarily good at closing. If you haven't closed, then you haven't mastered the entire pitch process. So when I'm hearing, what am I doing wrong? When asked during our catch-up strategy call, after reviewing her approach, the answer became clear. She was playing the game designed for her to lose. She was focusing so much on the innovative technology without adequately addressing the business model. She didn't really know her numbers well enough, because we all know if we're wearing an investor hat, the numbers that you propose is going to change depending on how you can actually put the plan to execution. And when you don't have the right people, vendors to help you do that, everything delays. Since everybody is buying on the initial interest of the idea, not necessarily able to keep up with the plan. And we see that over and over again. People that came together to build the initial business didn't even have the job role defined. And when the clear business plan for the next 2 quarters are in place, people's like, whoa, that's not what I thought I was going to do. And then the founder goes, wait a second, I thought we were on the same page. Now they're taking 2 more steps back to figure out where those contributions coming from, or they have to recalculate the amount of fund they need for those business plan. And critically, this person particularly was approaching investors who hasn't been properly prepared to understand the unique value of her solution. Now, the second thing we have to address is the hidden roadblocks that all of us are facing. If you feel like you're underrepresented as a founder, this issue goes beyond what you innately feel like, whether it's discrimination, whether people don't see you as have built multiple successful business, whatever that reason is, there's a lot more actually go into play of the resistance. Let's talk about some of them. Number 1, the NIH funding cut hit you the hardest. Probably many people have been waiting for these government funding, but it's been across the nation due to the new policy changes. And we are simply just don't have that much grant to be able to apply to. And when public funds shrink, it disproportionately impacts founders who can't afford private capital consultation or even knowing how to go approach those, especially when they don't have the right relationship and just sending out cold emails, wisdom pitch deck to all investors. And number two, you're probably underhired and overextended. Many founders wearing multiple hats. You are your own CEO, COO, CMO, CFO, doing it all. It's not that they want to. It's because they feel like they have to stay lean and do things on a smaller scale to keep the investors happy, then they're not overspending. But we know it's not a problem about overspending, but it's using your money the right way to actually help you speed up. And also making sure your hourly rate of doing those things are not being cut down because the things that you should be doing with a higher ROI generating activities cut by a potential project manager and executive assistant that could be only hired for $25 per hour. The third thing is you've been caught in the endless cycle of pitch. You're pitching, you're revising, you're getting feedbacks, and you're pitching again. And everyone's might have some different ideas, so you just keep working at it. Without realizing, perhaps your co-founders or advisors in your circle are not opening the right doors for you, or because you don't even have that many of them, so you don't even know which door you need to open. Even you have been introduced to the right people who care about your niche, but if you don't know how to leverage that generalized message of a pitch and customize it based on those particular investors' buyer persona, natural languages, then you're also shooting yourself at the foot. Then the fourth thing is you've been told to try harder, do more. But actually, what you should have been told is do differently. When the odds are just simply stacked against you, work harder within the same environment and same system is not going to get you anywhere. It's just going to make you feel like you did a lot of work and you're making quote unquote progress, but never close. And when you cannot lock down the exact business partners for the next contract and pilot you want to run, or investors actually write you a check, nothing is actually meaningful. Just because you work hard, we have in a society of perpetually being obsessed with the process of working hard. Instead, we need to be obsessed about getting results. The pattern of struggle persists even for founders with promising solutions and impressive early traction. We work with numerous women-led companies who build remarkable products, secure initial customers, and even expand internationally, yet still face insurmountable barriers when seeking institutional support with larger checks funding, when needing larger check to be written. What these founders often don't realize is that the system isn't designed to recognize their value. The metric investors use, the network they trust, and the patterns they look for all involved in environments that historically excluded women and underrepresented groups. This reminds me of the countless conversation we had with women healthcare founders. One told me, I don't understand. My male colleagues with a similar concept raise 8 million pre-revenue. I have customers, revenue, and validation from major health systems, and I can't raise a seed round. The difference is those male counterparts had advisors on their board who went to the same school as two of their investors. And those male-dominated repetitive cycle also being created due to trust, breaking into certain circles that you are having difficulty even breaking into. Now, how do we overcome that? Is by creating your own stage and your own circle of empowerment. These systems repeat themselves not because a lack of brilliance, especially many solutions that start to adding these quote unquote soft skills such as lifestyle, holistic, spiritual, and mindset into a hardcore disease driven healthcare system. However, it does take the right founder and investor and collaborator all in the same conversation to break down the old mindset of what could be successful. At the end of the day, it's about having brilliant strategic positioning that gets people to not just become someone who says, this is awesome, but I want to become a champion to help you do this. Then the next thing we wanted to talk about is what is the GPS you need for uncharted territory? Pitching without strategic alignment is like driving without a GPS in unfamiliar country. What does that mean? If you don't know the individual buyer persona, how they talk, what they actually care about, that means you have to do your homework first before presenting yourself to them. You might eventually reach your destination through trial and error for sure, but the journey will be much longer, more frustrating, and potentially devastating to your company's survival. When you keep hearing, oh, we're interested, send us more information. Now, if those supporting information is not exactly what they're looking for, if they are really asking you to see how well you know your own numbers, but you haven't really quite made those projections, and you're telling them, give me a couple of days, let me put that together, instead of, oh, give me an hour, I have that, let me send it to you right away. That's a two very different set of understanding how to build business, and do you know the true back end of what it takes to be successful. For us, after working with Ikram, she is the U.S. marketing director representing Aspect, a newer suction cup device to women's health exam instead of using Technacula that cause pain. She has been able to work with us through Pitch Perfect workshop. Not for more funding because she has recently closed a big Series B, but how do we break it into more OBGYN offices that truly can help their patients doing exams and doing the exam much faster? That means they can build more procedures in shorter amount of time. And also breaking into these enterprise organizations of ACOs and hospital systems to be able to do the same. When she gave us the message they've been using to secure funding, we have to change how they have to present the information with each different subset of physician clinic versus ACO versus hospital, because every entity has a different mindset and how do you get into the door first. And what Ikram said is,
this is great. I'm very impressed. Within a very short amount of time, you've also been able to understand very well and summarize and add more value to it. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the opportunity, for your patience, for your expertise and everything.
So what's more important than perfecting another pitch deck is building the right foundational list. This means assembling advisors who understand your unique market and have relationship with relevant fund resources. Number two, when you think you are creating traction, then speak to what the investor truly want, or perhaps you're not about raising more funds, but close your next deal. Then think about what they actually want. Not just hypothetically, you need to have those conversations with them. Not diving in directly for the pitch, but having a dialogue to find out exactly what they are trying to create, what their goals are in the next few quarters, so you can be the solution to their problems. Number three, creating your solution within a framework that makes sense to those who you do business. Even though these frameworks are not initially built for innovators like you. We've seen these transformations firsthand when healthcare founders shift their approach from endless pitches to strategic positioning. Their funding prospects dramatically improves, and they close more deals to get more clients as well. Because as you raise, everyone is going to see what is the true ROI. Can you actually provide impact the way that you are proposing, getting users to have good experience and retain them? One client secured significant funding in weeks after 18 months of hearing no. The difference isn't a better product or even a better pitch. It's strategically aligning the right voices that could amplify hers. Now, how do we build your own stage? What I've seen many times, people who feel like a small fish in a big pond when they go to conferences and events. That's why we created HealthTech Showdown, putting the right investors, system decision makers in front of solutions that actually have the potential to deploy right away. And we don't just put people on stage. We help them through a pre-event bootcamp to get their persuasive messages pitch perfect, as well as figuring out beyond the experts on stage who they can truly connect with to move the needle another inch. Think about, instead of sending hundreds of emails, going to countless events and spending thousands of dollars for those travel expenses and thousands of dollars just to get into those events. If you can simply cut that entire process down to a virtual platform to be presenting and speaking to those people already care about the subspecialty that you are building your solution in, that become impactful. Because we can have hundreds of great conversations, but if they're with the wrong people, those conversations doesn't really lead to anywhere. Or they are a very long-term process where a good conversation might get you one referral, but then you still have to keep building those relationships to figure out if that referral even makes sense. Unlike typical pitch competition that ends with a handshake or some kind of prize, and you're only speaking with a bunch consultants, we're actually having you speak with the people that can do business with you and get you into the door right away. At the end of the day, trust is built on multiple touch points, and let's get you started to speaking to the right people in the shortest amount of time. And besides, these winners will receive ongoing support from media press to publication to relationship with our network and continue building and creating possibilities for them. With NIH funding cutting short and VC selectiveness increases, traditional pathway for narrowing down the right decision makers to speak to is even harder. This is why building alternative funding opportunities and getting you one foot into the door with decision makers become not just a good option, but it's a necessity. Every day, you're trying to figure out how to break into those systems by knocking on doors, buying gifts for the office managers, hosting your own events. But as a tech solution, people know they're just obviously being pitched to and have the obligation to be there, instead of people who are on the judging panel knowing that a game show is more entertainment and fun, and they're more on the controlling seat than feeling obligated to be at a location because it's a paid event. Every day you spend trying to fit into a system designed to exclude you. It's a day your innovation isn't helping the patients who needs it. It's a day your company isn't growing towards sustainability. And it's a day your competitors, who might have fewer barriers to funding, gain grounds. I think about Mayra and countless other healthcare founders we work with. Many eventually find paths to growth, but not before wasting precious time, resources, and emotional energy on approaches that weren't serving them. The truth is, healthcare needs your innovation. Patients need your solution. The systems need your perspective. But waiting for recognition from gatekeepers who don't understand your value proposition is a luxury most founders, especially underrepresented ones, simply cannot afford. So let's create a different path forward. If you're a healthcare founder, particularly a woman or underrepresented innovator who's struggling to secure the funding your company deserves, I want you to consider a different approach. Number one, stop trying to get a seat at the table that simply weren't for you. Instead, build relationship with advisors or consultants who already have those relationships and leverage those to help you to move forward faster. And sometimes it's also about joining certain group that are actually not just cheer you on, but actually helping you to close deals with results. Number two, align your teams and senior leadership strategically. It's not good enough just to have good people around. When we're thinking about creation, is that people need to have both the talent, the purpose alignment, understand why they're in those positions, but also set specific boundary that is outcome related. There are KPIs that need to be set up in place for the results, and not just someone with some type of help that I thought I need, and let's just have those companies or those advisor, consultants, or vendors join our journey. When things are not clear, everyone's going to be waiting around for you to make a decision. And when you don't even know how to make that decision, that's when things are just so up in the air and weeks and months of work are just tabled until when you return, you saw someone already been working on that. It was actually never started. Number three, speak in the language that your investors or system decision makers actually understand, and create a framework that makes they think like they already are searching for those solutions. You're simply just the right one to deliver them. Number four, seeking platform especially designed to serve underrepresented founders like you, such as HealthTech Showdown. For everyone who believes they deserve to be on the spotlight, we also have a scholarship toward the event. Send a less than 200 words reason why you deserve to meet these investors and system leaders that we're sourcing to meet you to showdown@pulsepointpass.com with the subject line Showdown Scholarship. Mayra Hurtado's feedback after our workshop from HealthTech Showdown demonstrated the impact of this approach. She said, "Thank you so much for this, Sabrina. This is great. I really appreciate it. This is the hardest part, I think." She only wishes for more. Super valuable. I wish that it was longer. And we all know when we love something, we wanted to have more and more of it.
I think the coaching sessions, what was really good first is that they gave me a lot of ideas that I haven't necessarily thought about. So it's really nice and refreshing to get ideas that are actionable that I can take on and do something. But the thing that I really, really enjoy, and I told you this before, is the pitch practice. I enjoyed a lot more pitching it because it was more clear. And now I'm just happy to keep improving on that one, but at least I feel the base is a lot more stable. It's really nice on one hand to get another set of eyes, but on the other hand, help us land all that theoretical framework into something very practical. I think those two steps were the things that really made the difference.
The funding gap for women-led healthcare companies isn't just a statistic. It's a daily reality that delays and sometimes prevent life-changing innovation from reaching the people who need them the most. But the solution isn't just pitching more or working harder. It's aligning yourself strategically within a system that wasn't built for you. As healthcare leaders, we can't wait for the system to change on its own. We must create new pathways, new platforms, and new possibilities for founders who have been systematically overlooked. Because your innovation deserves to be funded. Your company deserves to grow. And the patients who need your solutions deserve to benefit from it sooner rather than later. Now, if you're ready to put yourself on the map, apply to be a VIP contestant on HealthTech Showdown. Go to HealthTechShowdown.com. And if you're not ready to take on stage, but you just wanted to start practicing on how to sell better and how to get buy-in, you can grab our entire system and our playbook on how to close more deals and workshop, plus all the interviews we have with investors. By also go to HealthTechShowdown.com. And you also get a ticket to come to any of our future virtual events where you see live pitches on stage after we have helped them to create persuasive pitches. You can learn from those who are a few steps before you. And when you're ready, we welcome you to be a VIP contestant as well. So we can open up our entire network to make sure that you can speak and grow and scale more effectively with the right resources.
Thank you for listening. Remember, the positive change we're seeking starts right here with me and you. If you are a fan of the show, or if you are just having struggles or success that you're either experienced in the past or are experiencing now in the healthcare industry, these matter to all of us. I want to hear from you. Visit SabrinaRunbeck.com/connect and send me a direct message. Talk soon.